Did you know that there are several Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were designed by fans? You've probably heard about Tyler the Great Warrior, the Make-A-Wish promo card made for and designed by former extremely ill child Tyler Gressel. But there's actually another 18 cards that were designed by fans and then released in regular core sets. And some of them are even pretty iconic cards that you might recognize and never knew were designed by your fellow Yugists. Let's take a trip through the world of fan-made cards to see the fruits of these fans' labor, and maybe even see if there's something we can learn from all this. This is fan-made cards and why they matter. Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster Capsule Breed and Battle. The first fan-made Yu-Gi-Oh! Card came before Yu-Gi-Oh! Even had a card game. It premiered in the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, based not on Duel Monsters, but Monster Capsule Chess, the game Yugi played against Mokuba Kaiba when Mokuba came looking to avenge his brother. In this PlayStation game, we get a much more fleshed out version of Capsule Monster Chess, with virtual pet mechanics added in, as the name implies. This game features 20 monsters from the original game in the manga, only missing 2 of them. It also has 4 monsters from Duel Monsters, taken from the iconic duel between Yugi and Kaiba. There's one last previously established monster in there, and that's Zork, the King of Darkness from Bakura's Monster World TTRPG. Then we have 78 original monster designs, including one fan-made monster, the classic normal wind monster, Taihon. Now, it's hard to get much information on a lot of these early fan-made monsters since they were only mentioned in old-ass Japan-only Weekly Shonen Jump issues that now cost ridiculous amounts of money. There is one YouTuber in Japan, Yui Kenta, who has collected at least scans of these issues and talks about these fan-created cards, but the video is entirely in Japanese with only automated translations for English. I'm doing my best to interpret these videos, but it's not easy, especially considering how many nonsense Yu-Gi-Oh words it involves. But we do at least have the creator's name, Masanori Tanaka, and this concept art for the creature, which shows it as much more canon-like with a metallic sheen and a giant fuse. That's where the name comes from after all. It's Taiho, the Japanese word for cannon, with an N thrown out at the end to make it a pun with typhoon, because in Japanese, H and F sounds are actually the same character. Honestly, I like the design a lot more than what we ended up getting eventually in the card game. That version must have been based on the Game Boy graphics, thus losing a lot of the fidelity. It's a shame though, the original reminds me of like a Kirby character. It's super cute. Out of these 78 original monsters made for this game, only 7 made it into cards, and only 1 made it into the card game we play today, good old Taihon. It just has such a striking design, I guess. So much so that it also got a recolor named Taihon No. 2, fittingly. Not the only example of this, surprisingly enough. Joey's new cards. Games weren't the only medium that needed new card ideas to fill their roster. Even the manga itself ran a contest to get fan-submitted card ideas in issue number 21 of the 1998 run of Weekly Shonen Jump. The results of the fan submissions brought us 2 classic cards and a crappy normal monster. Battle Warrior, Sword and Shield, and Kunai with Chain all came out of this process, although there doesn't seem to be any insight on how much change there was from fan-submitted designs here. No individual credit, and no concept art, and not even really any confirmation that all the cards paired with Red Eyes and Joey's hand on the cover of issue 35 of 1998 are all fan-made. Which is probably why they're not on Yugipedia's list, to be honest. Or they just didn't know about it, I guess, I don't know. Yui Kenta does know, though, with scans of the issues to boot, but I'm gonna have to remove them from the count going forward since it seems less like a direct adaptation of a fan-made card and more an amalgamation of several fan design ideas. I don't know, the machine translation is absolutely not doing me any favors here. If anyone knows Japanese enough to help out here in the comments, I would very much appreciate it. Duel Monsters. The second Yu-Gi-Oh game, Duel Monsters for the Game Boy, also ran a contest in Weekly Shonen Jump by which they acquired fan-made monster designs. This time around though, they brought in a lot more fan-made designs, a grand total of 9 of our 16 cards. Well, technically 8 of our 15 cards, but we'll get into that later. Duel Monsters is the first adaptation of the titular card game, but as you might expect, that means it's very early in the game's lifespan. At this point, only the manga, the original 1998 anime, and the 42 Bandai cards existed. This means there's barely any game to Duel Monsters, essentially just a game of complicated war. It also means there weren't many monsters, so Konami, the developer of the game and soon the card game that we would all come to know, asked for submissions from fans to help fill out the roster in the 26th issue of 1998. A bit of a win-win for generating hype and getting more monsters into the game. For From Hidekaze Ozaki, we got Claw Reacher, which originally seems to be some sort of fiendish creature with Hitmonlee-style extensions on its arms. This translates to the Game Boy game, but once it hits the actual card game, they become more like telescoping metal plates. Still, the design remains pretty well intact. Junko Kubo's Dark Shade is honestly kinda hard to describe. A bat-like creature with one giant gem eye and 3 wing bones, but no fingers for membrane support? Sure, that'll do. In its game debut, the 3 wing bones end up looking like 3 separate wings, but its trading card debut brings it more in line with its concept art, although with a significant recolor of the gem eye. Takeshi Fuji's Doron is, well, I guess you could say it's a black Michelin man with unfortunate lips. The video game unfortunately replicates this very faithfully and also gives it the ability to duplicate itself. Luckily, the card game changes it up a bit with the addition of color and by making the face less distinct, although making the lips red, alright, moving on. Manabu Iwasaka's Genin has a rather fun design of a floating hat, gloves, and a frilly collar above a pair of boots, implying some sort of sprightly, spiritual, or just plain invisible creature with a silly little outfit and a baton. While in the original concept art that frilly collar almost looks like a gear, the video game and the card both correct it and make it a little bit more clear with some dynamic posing. Kiichi Hayashi's hard armor is incredible. Look at this guy. It's a suit of armor with no helmet and a DreamWorks face on its chest plate and a mouth on its giant codpiece. That's so awesome. Unfortunately, this wonderful design kinda gets watered down in the video game and then really loses its spark once it hits the card game. What even is this? That's not my hard armor. Bring him back! Atsushi Nakao is responsible for the iconic disembodied torso Larvus. In the concept art, Larvus has big ol' baby blues. How disembodied torsos with blue eyes look at you. Also seems to have a lot of red in there, including those red tentacle things that seem to be misinterpreted as claws through the transition process from video game to card game. It also loses some bulk and those big baby blues. Very interesting to see what gets kept and what gets dropped. I wish we had more insight on the how and why of it. Masahiro Yamamoto's Turtle Tiger honestly seems like a chill as fuck dude. It's got some serious snaggletooth face. It really is just a saber-toothed tiger in a turtle shell though, not much else going on here. So it gets interpreted pretty straight, just losing its chill demeanor. The card looks so bad though, honestly. I don't know who was responsible for this, but wow, I really preferred the original art to this, which is crazy because in an interview with Yui Kenta, the creator admits he wasn't really thinking much of it when he drew this art in class. Yu-Gi-Oh! Artists have got to do better than a middle schooler doodling in class. Come on! Perhaps the most famous of all of these is Yasushi Ibusuki's Twin Long Rods, one of the most insane names for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. The concept art features a somehow even more bulbous head with some pretty wimpy twin long rods. Don't worry, little guy, it's not the size of the boat, but the motion of the ocean. The video game and card both reduce the size of that head, although seemingly keeping the teeth the same size, and increases the size of the rods, fittingly for the name. Obviously, an incredible design like this justifies a recolor, so just like Taihon, there's a Twin Long Rods #2 as well. Lastly, Kentaro Miyamoto's Beast of Forest Destruction is a classic chimera with a goat, lion, and dragon head and big ol' wings. Seems to have a dragon-style tail rather than the more traditional snake head tail there. In-game, there's really only room to show those heads. It's just too much detail for a Game Boy game. In fact, it's an awful lot of detail for the displayed level of skill in the art there. Turns out that's because it's actually the card Chimera from the Monster Collection TCG. It's just fully plagiarized from that card. So Konami understandably decided to remove the card from the game, because even Konami, with all their faults and the never crediting the artist, knows that plagiarism fucking sucks. Well, actually, they probably only care about the potential of getting sued, but I don't give a shit about copyright personally. I just think it's pretty lame to claim someone else's work as your own. Anyways, yeah, that's why this 9th card is not actually our 9th card. The only reason we even know about it is it was announced alongside Claw Reacher, Hard Armor, and Turtle Tiger in issue 36 of the 1998 run of Weekly Shonen Jump, with the rest being announced in V-Jump issue 11, 1998. Don't get disappointed by the lack of a 9th card though. Taihon is in this game as well, so there is technically a 9th fan-made card in that game. By the way, someone should go in and edit the wiki page for Beast of Forest Destruction. Someone decided to say that Guardian Chimera might be inspired by it because the heads are the same and are in the same placements, neither of which are true? Guardian Chimera has an eagle head with goat horns, critically not a goat head, and the dragon head is on the opposite side from Beast of Forest Destruction. And then there's just the obvious. Why the fuck would they go back to a plagiarized design from a 1998 video game to make a card in 2022? That just doesn't make any fucking sense. So that's just straight up wrong, and it's sitting there on the wiki. Might want to fix that. Accepting this awkward entry though, all these fan-made cards made it into the actual card game. That's a really cool mark that fans were able to make on the early history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, creating some iconic, and some admittedly less than iconic, normal monsters. Make-A-Wish. Okay, I don't think that Tyler the Great Warrior really needs an introduction, right? We're doing it anyways? Okay, I guess. So very quickly, Tyler the Great Warrior was made as part of the Make-A-Wish program for 14-year-old cancer survivor Tyler Gressel. This is what Make-A-Wish does, helping bring the dreams of kids dealing with devastating illnesses to life, and the excruciating damage done by Gressel's rare liver cancer and the surgeries necessary to remove it certainly qualified. Make-A-Wish got Tyler in touch with Upper Deck and Konami, which in turn got Kazuki Takahashi himself to design a card based on Tyler's request. Takahashi apparently presented Tyler with 2 designs to pick between, and then likely had another artist do the finished art for the card, considering the lack of a signature on the card art. The final design is based on future Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, and features the legendary black belt that is worn by the Monk Fighter archetype of Mouse Fighter, Monk Fighter, and Master Monk. He also has an effect similar to the belt, but with fundamental differences. It's the most teenage boy epic card of all time, which is perfect considering who it was for. Now, of course, there's only one copy of the card in existence, only the one given to Tyler. Tyler actually sold the card in 2023 for $311,211 to essentially fund the next stage of his life. If you want more information about all of that, there's probably 10 million videos you could watch about it, but particularly Cimo's video, where I've gotten a lot of this footage from, will probably give you the most insight. The first fan-made effect monster, the first American fan-made card, and the only one to have Takahashi involved to my understanding, ignoring the ambiguity of the Joey Manga cards, all to celebrate the life of one kid who survived terrible circumstances. That's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about, baby! Hello everyone, Editor Ian here. I wrote, recorded, edited this video. It was complete, essentially. All before the tragic passing of Alexander Cimo. And now here I am with a bunch of his footage in my video, telling you to go watch his channel after his passing. I still think you should go watch his channel. At this point, I believe all the proceeds made to that will be going to Brittany, his spouse. And she could really use the support, I'm sure. But I felt it was important to interrupt the flow here to say a little thing about Cimo. In a love letter to the fans, like this video. There's really one man who kind of stands, or stood now, I guess, as a giant amongst that crowd, and that would be Cimo. I never knew the man personally, but I know people who knew him, and by all accounts, he was an extremely stand-up person. And I know for sure that my channel as it stands now would not be the same, if here at all, without Cimo and the work that he did to build a better fan community for Yu-Gi-Oh! If you have time, do make sure you go back and look at Cimo's channel, his life's work. I think it's worth it. And may his memory be a blessing. And now back to the video. GX Design Contest. Now we move to the GX era for a contest held in Japan to design Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards for the anime, announced in episode 44, which aired August 3rd, 2005. 3 cards would make it from this pool, 1 that would make it into one of the video games, and 1 that became an actual card. Wow. Those other 2 had to wait 2 fucking decades to be finally put into the card game, right as I was writing this script. What are the fucking odds? From someone credited only as Miss Kanai, no first name, we have Demiurge Emma, which is a pretty chill name for a Demiurge to have. Apparently it's a bit of wordplay in Japanese. Go figure, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. This card is part of a pseudo-archetype with Blue Moon and Shadow Moon involving homunculus tokens. As you might expect for a deck based around the Demiurge and Homunculus tokens, this card looks fucking crazy. The weird membranous wings with spear tips, the asymmetrical arms, one of which appears to be another feathery wing, and then a shorter arm tipped with 5 extremely long blades, all of which has a resplendent gold sheen. What a crazy design Miss Kanai brought to the table. I really wish we had the concept art on this one. I'd love to see what that looked like. Unfortunately, this card didn't make it out of the anime. I don't really see why, but I don't make those decisions. Anyways, apparently it's because they were waiting 2 decades to release it, and it's gonna finally be in the game soon. The version they ended up making kinda combines the effects of all those pseudo-archetypal cards, but is really mostly gonna be used as a snake rain for Monarch, which is fitting since it was played by the Monarch Duelist in GX. From Toshiki Nakayama, we have Load of Darkness. No, I did not misspeak, and you did hear me correctly. It's Load of Darkness, not Lord. It was originally named Dark Creator in the anime, where it was used as part of a fortune teller deck, but when this card made the shonen jump to the Tag Force games, not writing that one again, its name was changed. Now it stands as some sort of pun on Lord of Darkness that reflects its blobby nature, or maybe just a misspelling. This giant creature is genuinely hard to describe. It's got big beholder vibes despite only having 3 eyes, 2 of which are on long stalks. It's got spikes, it's got pauldrons, it's got a big gaping maw of some kind, it's got it all. It's a fascinating eldritch creature design. Good job, Nakayama. It also works together with a card called Infinite Fiend Mirror, which suitably creates a load of darkness tokens that mirror its stats. So really, Nakayama's monster gets to appear twice. Lucky, lucky. Load of Darkness is now getting an adaptation in the real card game that once again combines its support card, but prevents it from being weird link material. We don't know if this new adaptation will keep the Load misspelling or if it'll be corrected to Lord of Darkness, but I'm really hoping for Load. I think it'd be very funny. Lastly, we have Kaori Kimura's contribution, one you might actually know. Rallus the Starbird. Yes, that's right, the discount cousin of the Monster Mash staple, Gallus the Star Beast, was made by a fan. I love this art too. This majestic armored bird with giant wings and also smaller wings underneath, and a long glorious tail just looks incredible. It's a huge departure from the original anime design though, and thus possibly the original concept design, which looks like a whole different monster in the same archetype. Speaking of though, where is the archetype for this guy? We can already pair it with Gallus and maybe Grizzly the Red Star Beast, one of those match winner prize cards, so we could build an archetype around this pretty easily, I think. If they can make an archetype out of Pumpkin and Call of the Haunted, surely this will be a simple process. Well, now that the OCG fans have their cards in the show, let's see what the TCG fans can come up with. Yu-Gi-Oh! Design Your Destiny Card Contest. In collaboration with Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime distribution company 4Kids and Upper Deck, yes, they're still in the picture at this point, this contest gave a chance for TCG kids to design cards to premiere in the set Gladiator's Assault. The announcement was made during the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime block on October 13th, 2006, and the winners were announced December 2nd that year. Despite Gladiator's Assault being one of the last sets of the GX era, it seems that 4Kids had no faith in GX's ability to hold the brand together, and instead got DM imagery and characters to promote the contest. The cards themselves were released in 2007, actually the first year of TCG World Premiere cards, cards that first appear in TCG territories before being brought to the OCG instead of the other way around. Seems this was an experiment in what they could do with the World Premiere format. To accommodate disparity between ages and their artistic ability, they selected 3 cards from 3 different age groups, 13 to 17, 8 to 12, and 3 to 7. Let's see what that brought them. From the 13 to 17 category, we have Alex V with Dragon Ice, the original Turn Zero play. I tell ya, Alex must have been a big fan of Image Comics because this original concept art just screams Todd McFarlane or Eric Larson to me. Honestly, it's actually better than what Rob Liefeld was putting out. This gargoylist dragon made of ice with a metallic humanoid face and a gauntlet with wings seemingly made out of a tattered cape would fit right alongside Spawn and Savage Dragon, but also translates very well to Yu-Gi-Oh! With a slight stylistic change to the art. I hope Alex V got to flex those artistic skills sometime after this though, because this is not bad at all. Yu-Gi-Oh! Did decide to ditch the red background for a light blue one instead, which is a shame because that blue on red is super striking, but like, I get it. It doesn't seem like an ice dragon, dragon ice, would live in a red environment, does it? From the 8 to 12 category, we have Christian L, with everyone's favorite frog support tool, Screech. That's right, this gross little freak that's somehow a reptile is a fan design. It's got a graboid-style face, 2 big ol' legs, an abdomen with a horn, maybe a stinger, and a tentacle with like a beak? This guy's kind of hard to describe, honestly. The fans are really good at creating absolute monstrosities. And this is almost one-to-one with the concept art. just a little less shading. Honestly, kind of a similar art style to Dragon Ice. Funny coincidence. Unless they're actually the same person. Probably not. I mean, they're not even the same age, supposedly. Lastly, from the 3 to 7 category, we have Seamus B's Tongue Twister, which, God, this is the most horrifying one yet. It's a tongue with one big eye and a top row of fangs at the tip of its tongue, no jaw to complete the set of teeth, and an avian foot at the bottom of its twisty body. It's also very wet, as you might expect from a tongue. Just, what a creature. Seamus B, what is wrong with you? /pause. Seamus also wrote down possible names for his signature move were it to get an anime adaptation, apparently. Slobber Clobber, Spitballs, Laser Lick, Tongue Tie, Drool Duel. These are all bangers. Well, except for Tongue Tie. That's a little on the nose. Tongue. Honestly, a shockingly good monster design for such a young artist. It really looks quite good. And it looks like the Yu-Gi-Oh artist agreed and adapted it quite faithfully. That's cool. So that's our fan-made cards for the GX era. Things start to slow down significantly from here for fan-made cards, but they aren't done yet. 5Ds has a decent amount, so let's take a look at those. 5Ds Draw Contest. Just like for GX, 5Ds had an art contest for Japanese fans to draw monsters to be included in the anime, with an announcement airing in episode 17 on July 3rd, 2008. Unlike that one, these cards all almost immediately became actual cards instead of having to wait a couple of decades, probably because a lot of them were played by the protagonists. First up, we have one such example, Bird of Roses, used by Luna and designed by Kento Hirasawa. This is a bit of an unusual one where the fan designing the card didn't just decide how it looked, but everything about the card. Kento wrote out the attribute, level, stat line, and even the effect, which, to the best of my ability to understand written Japanese, seems to be the same effect that ended up on the actual card. So in a very rare case for Yu-Gi-Oh, since we don't know the specifics on who draws, designs, or creates effects for cards, if you like Bird of Roses or find it underpowered, you know exactly who made every aspect. Well, almost every aspect, because of course there's still the artist who cleaned up Kento's design for the card. Seems that while Kento puts up an admirable effort in drawing the bird made out of roses, they have a bit of trouble with the head. The artist helps fix up the beak and add some cool details that really bring the whole design together. Next is Chaos King Archfiend by Hayate Ogura, as played by Jack Atlas. Hayate's drawing skills are more what I expected going into this. Those of the average child. I drew like this growing up. It feels like the prototypical kid art style. They've created a weird little guy, kinda inscrutable and hard to describe. It's like a little armored fiend of some sort. I don't know. It's got 2 pairs of wings, and the Yu-Gi-Oh artists seem to have interpreted the red part of the wings as flames, and that may be from the flavor text that Hayate presented, which seems to mention something about a flaming sword that is not present in the art. The Yu-Gi-Oh artists really do a yeoman's service in bringing this concept into like an interesting guy with the addition of the flames and cleaning up the creature's figure and the alien face. It's just really awkwardly standing there. Menacingly! Luckily, the TCG team decided the anime team didn't do a good enough job and created a second art, Lucky Hayate, that has a much more dynamic pose. A second yeoman's service for a card that effectively does nothing. Oh well. Next up is actually a twofer and a fan favorite. Drill Synchron and Drill Warrior, both designed by, we don't actually know who won this one. No name on the concept art. I wish I could tell you who made this beloved Synchro monster, but I don't have that info. Regardless, someone in the art competition made both Drill Synchron and Drill Warrior, and, well, they're pretty good at drawing drills and treads, but the humanoid form of the Warrior Synchro monsters seems to escape them a little bit. You can see all the elements that make up Drill Warrior, including way more drills than I really thought about before now, but they're just arranged a little jankily, and also there's a full rack of abs that didn't make it over. They twinkified Drill Warrior! The designer also lays out how you make Drill Warrior, with Drill Synchron and a level 3 non-tuner. It doesn't seem to specify the level of Drill Synchron, but, you know, once you decide that, the level of Drill Warrior solves itself. Considering how popular Drill Warrior is, it's pretty cool to learn that it was made by another fan out there just like us. Next up is Morphtronic Vacuumin, played by Crow. No, I'm just kidding. Of course it was played by Bruno. No, okay, it was Leo. No artist name on this one, but a very big stylized rendition of the card name and a description about the monster cleaning up stuff because it's a vacuum. The Yu-Gi-Oh artist really enhanced the size of the head, but otherwise it's an untouched vacuum robot with vacuum hoses for arms. I guess they also added a handle there, which I suppose begs the question of who is picking this guy up. It's got wheels and arms. I think it'll be fine on its own, especially if we continue making our buildings and cities wheelchair accessible, as we should. Although considering the 5D's future, maybe it does need a handle. Lastly, we have Splendid Rose, played by Akiza. I'm also lacking a name for whoever made this card, despite the large amount they wrote about their card. It's mostly flavor text explaining how the monster looks in motion, because they apparently wanted to leave the synchro effect up to the design team. Seemingly the first time on the sheet it mentions the monster is a synchro monster. Splendid Rose is just a guy in a leafy little outfit with thorn vines. The Yu-Gi-Oh artist for some reason gave it a haircut, probably to make it look more princely, and added a really nice feature of the bright red rose frills on the boots. That little detail really makes the design pop in my opinion. Really good addition. Also, something to glean from these cards is that you can actually really easily see the shift to archetypal Yu-Gi-Oh here. Before this point, fans are making generic monsters that could fit in anywhere. They're shoved in the decks of random jobbers, or Joey Wheeler, or never even put in the anime or manga at all. Here in 5Ds, fans are making cards for the main characters. We're making a Bird Rose that might have been intended for Akiza, but works for Luna too, since we also have Splendid Rose for Akiza. We're making an Archfiend for Jack Atlas. We're making a Synchro and Associated Warrior for Yusei. We're even making a Morphtronic for Leo. I find that pretty sudden shift interesting, and I imagine it would have become even more clear as Yu-Gi-Oh became more and more defined by archetypes, if there were even that many fan-made cards left. Duel to Rule. The Duel to Rule competition was the last opportunity for TCG duelists to design a card for the game. And whoo boy, was it a doozy that got selected. In 2010, the announcement was made via another Yugi Egyptian-themed animation. You could really see how the American team has no faith in any Yu-Gi-Oh franchise besides the original, huh? The singular winner of the 100,000 entrants was Christopher B., who gave us the strangest card art of Extreme Victory, Vampire Dragon. I think the bizarre build of this 18-pack dragon with a single eye and vampiric wings has made it a pretty iconic member of the vampire archetype despite not even being a good card. Everyone, please thank Christopher for their weird-ass vampire dragon. Christopher, if you ever see this, please show me the concept art you made for it. I want to see what your original design looked like. Zexal Draw Contest. While the TCG wouldn't get any more contests to add their own monster designs to the game, the OCG would continue to have contests to add cards to the anime that would eventually make their way into the game. First is what I think is the most important card in this entire video, the perfect little creature, Bachi Bachi Bachi. Made by Takezawa Keisuke, this creature is, like a bee with a lightning bolt pattern that's kind of shaped like a Hitachi wand. It's got a perfect angry mouth and eyes. It's got wings but no limbs. It's got a single antenna, has a little lightning bolt stinger. It's just perfection. Look at it. Look at how the team adapted it perfectly to the T. This kind of creature is what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm so happy to learn this was made by a fan. Thank you, Takezawa Keisuke. You've made the world a better place. Dote do Tengu, on the other hand, is a pretty standard depiction of a Tengu in a cartoony, friendly image. We don't know who made this one, and I don't have much to say about it. The original art has like a fun, wobbly nature to it, I suppose, but that obviously gets smoothed out for the anime version. The card game version decided to give it a more dynamic pose, but even that can't make it stick in my memory. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, we were talking about the next card, Tadakawa Knight, right? This guy, designed by Takemizawa Hayato, is like a weird amalgamation of centuries of European warriors. It's primarily Grecian, I think, with the helm, the skirt, and the trident. The shield kind of looks like a late antiquity Roman shield if it was designed for gamers. The material used for the armor gives a medieval vibe, but again, designed for gamers. The Yu-Gi-Oh artists really take that and solidify all those thoughts for me, while maintaining the basic posing the artist had used out of basically necessity. The main thing they changed was the semi-chibi-ish proportions, which, didn't seem intentional, so I get it. The card game art team gave it an actually quite nice pose that helps bring the knight to life a bit more. Unlike 5Ds where the fan-made cards were split between the protagonists, all three of these cards get played by Yuma in the anime. This may reflect a heavier focus on the individual protagonist of Yuma, or maybe just reflects the waning interest in fan-made cards. A waning interest that will lead to only one last fan-made card being made for Arc V before the practice was ended seemingly forever. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V Start Commemoration Monster Design Contest. The final fan-made card was made for a contest celebrating the debut of Arc V. The submissions for this contest actually started before the show even aired, meaning there wasn't really a clear understanding of what most of the cards would be like, particularly the existence of pendulum monsters. It seems that they knew about Performapals and had a look at a few of Yu-Gi-Oh's monsters, but that's it. And so 9-year-old Mizuki Imai developed Performapal Trump Witch, a pun on the archetype of the tramp and the trump card, both of which kind of hit that circus vibe that the Performapals give. Mizuki is seemingly the only one to add a back view to her concept art, which I'm sure made the animators happy. She does also add an effect, but because she doesn't know about pendulum monsters, nor the impending power creep of Duelist Alliance, she made it spend 10,000 life points to let Trump Witch attack all monsters the opponent controls. A simple effect, but apparently not what the team wanted. The design team just totally ignored all of that to make it a pendulum monster that confuses when it's in the scale and attributes itself to Search Poly when it's a monster. Still bad, of course, but much more useful for writing anime narratives. That's okay, Mizuki. They didn't like your effect, but they sure did like your monster design because they put her in the art of 2 other cards. But despite that, Mizuki would be the last fan to get to design a monster for Yu-Gi-Oh! At least it ended on a high note. Conclusion. We don't really know why these contests ended. In the TCG, a lot of these were driven by 4Kids, so you could perhaps put the blame on the bankruptcy and lawsuits of 4Kids for ending contests here after 5Ds, but even that last 5Ds era one was pretty lackluster in presentation. It just seems more like shifting priorities to me. The vast majority of these cards were made for anime, manga, or video games. As all of these became less important financially than the card game itself, and the card game audience grew in age, the contest became less effective at motivating and exciting fans. They're targeted at a younger audience, as you can see by the ages for the GX era contest capping out at 17, and the card game audience just didn't look like that as much anymore. It also kind of takes away the anonymity of the artists. For whatever reason, Konami does not want to credit their artists. I've heard people theorize this to make people think that Kazuki Takahashi makes them all, but if that was the case, they would have stopped making them after his tragic death. I think it's probably simultaneously a means to dismantle as much as possible the ability of their artists to organize, and also a way to avoid controversy. You don't have any controversies about a racist artist like Therese Nielsen if the players don't know who actually made the cards. I mean, hell, we only have a pretty good inkling of the artist who made the Trap Tricks girls, and the woman we think drew them got harassed for it. So, I don't know, I do kind of see where Konami is coming from on this sometimes. Perhaps they could have done more for her if they actually publicly acknowledged it was her work, but would she have gotten harassed at all if she wasn't identified as the artist? I don't know, I want artists to be credited, but I think I see their reasons too, you know? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Anyways, point being, regardless of the reason, Konami likes their artists the way I like my men, not acknowledged and out of the way. But as I've shown here today, art contests fly in the face of that. While some of them actually aren't credited for some reason, most of them are because, like, that's the whole point. Where is the prestige of it being your card accepted into the game if you don't have your name somewhere in the process? And that comes at odds with Konami's artist anonymity. With the anime winding down and video games not being produced, Konami's card game team would be the main body that could run such a contest, which they have never done on their own. I think they have so many reasons why they don't want to do it, and that's why we don't see these anymore, especially with the pretty spectacular failure of the community design polls that resulted in the Inzector support card. Oh, and also because kids like to trace shit, and that could get Konami in Mondo trouble. We can of course look back to Beast of Forest Destruction for an obvious example of this, but we can also look in the opposite direction to see why it might not be a great idea. Remember Zatchbell? I sure don't. It never appealed to me. Anyways, here's a page from the fan art section of volume 15 of Zatchbell. Does it look familiar to you perhaps? That's because it's Woodland Sprite, a Yu-Gi-Oh card printed a few years before this issue came out. A kid traced it and sent it in as a monster for Zatchbell instead, and it made it into the pages despite also being a Shonen Jump property. There's also a couple other examples of Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters showing up in the fan art section of other manga or RPG books like Toriko or Deltora Quest. Kids don't have an innate sense of copyright. It's unnatural. Mimicry is what humans are built to do to an extent. So if you can't recognize every copyrighted image in the world at all times, you may end up letting plagiarism slip through the cracks, like Konami already did in their first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. That shit can get you in a ton of legal trouble. These contests are actually a huge liability, so it honestly feels strange they lasted as long as they did. Plus, in the modern day, there's also just been a huge change in perspective on these kind of contests, and the way they extract labor from their fans for little compensation, and no compensation to everyone who didn't win the contest. Relive the old days of Twitter by relitigating that discourse in my comments below. But this all means we have to cherish what we already have, since there's so many reasons why it will likely never happen again. There are a lot of really cool designs we've seen here today, all from the brains of fans. None of these fans were professional artists, only some of them had much artistic skill in the traditional sense, but all of them put the work in and got their art turned into real-life Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And not a single bit of AI was used in the process. That's right, motherfuckers. This whole video was made to shit on people who use generative AI to make their custom cards. Oh, you need AI to make your vision come to life, you little baby man? Well, Drill Warrior, one of the most iconic synchro monsters of all time, was made by a guy who was only good at drawing drills. Nobody will pay attention to your cards without the AI art. Just draw something, asshole. You could make the next Bachi Bachi Bachi. You have to fuck over the planet and society to make your funny Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You're being destroyed in the marketplace of ideas by a 9-year-old who didn't even know she was making a pendulum monster or what a pendulum monster was yet. Folks, if there's one thing you should take away from this video, it's to follow your creative instincts wherever they may go, even if they lead you to an unhinged rant at the end of a mostly fun, lighthearted video. If there's a second thing you should take away, it's fuck AI. Thanks for watching. Hey there, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a lot more for you if you want them. Just hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications. I'd also appreciate if you left me a like and a comment and maybe shared the video around with your friends. You can also follow me on all the usual social media sites and find my other YouTube channels and Twitch channel by checking out my website in the description below for all those links. My videos are funded by my patrons, Ko-fi subscribers, and YouTube members whose names you'll see scrolling by in these credits here. For just $1 a month, you too can find yourself here, trapped in my end screen for all eternity, among other benefits. In particular, I'd like to thank Jeremy Coatney, Frog Prince Michael, Beastsman, Beelzis, Fleekill, Fire Mizumi, Golden Nova, Haru Hayes, Squish, and the almighty Ferret Lord. A big thanks to all my other patrons and to my little community as a whole. Remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful, whatever time it is for you. Bye!